Pastor Jimmy asked me to do this, I've given my testimony a lot of times, and I've preached a few times, and I was like, okay, I feel like I'm saying the same thing over and over again, but this time it was different, and I was like, well, this is so crazy, because exactly 4 years ago today, I was sitting in jail, and I feel like God told me to let you guys visualize that, because literally I'm just this happy person you all see walking around church snapping pictures and posting them online and whatever. And that's not who I used to be. So give me 10 seconds and I'll be right back. Yes, please. Don't sell my sweater. So this is how I was 4 years ago. I was walking across the street from the jail to the courthouse in shackles, and it's not only like shackled, they have a chain from the shackles that go up around your waist, and you're like, your hands can only be right here, and you can't like move out or this way or this way. Like, I did not get the chain that goes around your waist, because let's see if I can still do this. Okay, so that was me 4 years ago, and I was sitting in a jail cell because I overdosed for I don't know how many times, that I can't count anymore how many times I overdosed. And for those of you that don't know, I was like an extreme heroin and meth addict. And wow, Newton would be so proud of me that I made it up them steps. And it got to the point to where I was, can you take these off of me? It got to the point to where it didn't matter what I was doing. It didn't, honestly, by the end, it didn't matter the drug. It was literally like whatever fit in a needle. And now I'll go back a little bit. These are stuck, aren't they? They're upside down. Hold on, one moment. Lay down. I knew we shouldn't have done the ankles. Okay, good job. Good job. At least one's free.
Where's the song? Take the shackles off my feet so I can dance. I want to praise you.
Okay.
Where were you on that day?
Anyway. Thanks. I don't look good in stripes, by the way. I'll go back to like my childhood, and then I'll go back into my bad part of life. My childhood was good. I was like grew up in the trailer park. But we were happy. We were poor, but we were happy. We had what we needed. And I think I was about 11, and my parents got divorced, and I didn't really think that put a huge impact on me, but now looking back at it, I know it did. By the time, I was 12, and I was living with my dad, and like I said, my parents got divorced, and they spent a couple years fighting over us, but I was living with my dad, and Dad was working all the time to try to take care of us, and things had happened, and I'm just going to say my innocence was taken from me at 12 before I had even the option to say otherwise, and we'll leave that at that. I'm not blaming my addiction on that. I'm just saying a lot of things come from childhood trauma, and that's part of my childhood trauma, which happened again when I was 16. I can talk about this now because I've healed from it, and don't think it doesn't bother me because it does, but we'll just leave that there. My teenage years were just straight up whatever I wanted to do. My dad was working all the time. If he wasn't working, he was sick, and my mom was working all the time. She worked second or third shift, so that meant we were like the party kids. We were, you could come to our house and hang out because Mom was never home. I did grow up, I do have an older sister, but I tend to say sometimes she doesn't like me, but she's 5 years older than me, and I just wasn't cool to her. I like to think she likes me. My brothers were like my best friends. We were always together. They made me who I am. I was always one of the boys, one of the guys. I had Tristan on my 18th birthday, and which meant that I had to try to grow up for what I could. And then just 2 years later, I had Nikita, and I was 19, and I had 2 kids. That was rough, which I did it for the longest time, and I was still drinking and trying to be this cool party girl, and I just got introduced, like, it was just like a stair step. They say marijuana is the gateway drug, and people want to argue with that, but I did go from, like, drinking to marijuana to cocaine to acid to pills, and then when I hit the pills, the opiates, that was my love. That was my addiction, basically my religion. I lived to get high. I got high to live. I worked to get high. I got high to work. I had JJ at 26, and when I was 29, which meant JJ was 2.5 years old, and Nikita was 9, and Tristan was 12, I landed a Class B felony for dealing these pills that I was addicted to. And I wouldn't really call myself like this dealer. I was just more trying to support my habit. So, but it doesn't matter. In the law's eyes, you're a dealer. So I went to prison. And I went there for 3 years. And as a mother, it's like the hardest thing ever to raise your kids or think you're raising your kids from a prison phone. And I pray that none of you ever have to deal with that. So when I got out, JJ was starting kindergarten, and Nikita was starting middle school, and Tristan was starting high school. So I missed out on 3 years of and it felt like to me like the most important part of their lives. And I just felt like I needed to try to make up for those years. So I'm going to be the cool mom. I wanted to, hang out with them and take them here and take them there. And eventually it led to letting my oldest son drink and letting him do what he wanted. And it led him into, and this is his story to tell, but it led him into his own addiction. So I ended up relapsing after maybe a year or two out of prison, and it was just a simple, like, I had this job and I hurt my foot at work, so I'm going to go to the doctor. And the doctor, like, just instantly writes me this prescription again. And like an idiot, I went and got it filled. And I thought, well, I won't take them. And then I felt like I needed to take them because it just hurt so bad. Like in my mind, it was like, this hurts, it hurts. I need to take this pill. So I ended up getting addicted again, and I thought, hey, you know what? I can sell them and make money if I'm, like, need money, which, like, the last 3-year prison sentence didn't mean a thing to me. Mind you, I didn't believe in God then. I did not grow up in church. I didn't know God. I had nothing, I spent more time trying to prove that God isn't real than just letting him do what he did. But now that I look back at it, I know God was there. So after this relapse, after these pills ran out, I went to the doctor to get on. I tried methadone. I tried Suboxone. And when the doctor took me off of Suboxone because, well, I was doing other drugs and not just the Suboxone as prescribed, he takes me off of it. And he says, you're not doing it right, so I can't help you anymore. So that's when I turned to heroin. And honestly, heroin was cheaper than all these pills and this Suboxone, and it was easier to get because I knew all I had to do was take a little drive, and I had it. So then my addiction to the needle started, and because as if snorting it, you're not getting high enough. So I was introduced to the needle, and after that, it just got to the point to where anything that could fit in that needle, I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do it. And I got to the point to where I was never ever high enough. I have this tattoo right here, and originally I got it to cover up these scars, and thank you Jesus, they went away. But okay, let's go back up to March of 2017. Dave, you can pull up my mugshot if you want. This is like the worst of the worst here. This was my, I had literally, you can see my face is horrible. I had, my face was swollen. My arms were swollen. My legs were swollen because I had this allergic reaction to whatever I was putting in that needle, and I didn't even care. I kept doing it. So this was March of 17. Please take that off. This was March of 17, and the reason I went to jail in March of 17 was because in February of 17, I overdosed, and I was literally in my mom's bathroom, and my mom's like 4'10". She's like candy size, okay? That's like how small my mom is. And she knew I was in she came home, I don't know. I know looking back it was God, but she wasn't supposed to be home until 11:30, and she got home at 10 something. And she knew I was in the bathroom, but I had the door locked. And my little old mom, I don't even know how she did it, but she got that door open. And she found me laying slumped over on the bathroom floor. I was dead, cold. I don't know if I was cold or not, but I was blue. I was blue in the face, and she called 911. And I lived in Andrews with her at the time. And in Andrews, all my cousins are on the volunteer fire department. So these cousins literally had to see me laying here and saving my life. So the warrant caught up with me a month later. They found me. I'm not a very good hider. So they took me to jail. I spent a week in that jail, in so much, the withdrawal was horrible. I can't even, it's I don't know if any of you ever had COVID this week, or this past year. It's like the most violent flu you could ever have. And I was laying in a cell by myself. They wouldn't give me any clothes. They wouldn't give me any commissary. They wouldn't give me anything but a shower every 3 days and a roll of toilet paper. So I convinced this guy that I was just friends with, but that doesn't even matter. I convinced him to bond me out. You bond me out, I'll pay you back. I can, get this money and I'll pay you back. You know how girls are. They can convince guys to do whatever they want. So he bonded me out. And for the next 3 months, I ran wild. I did what I wanted. I did not come home for days at a time. And Clayton, I'm just going to pick on you. He works with me, so I know I can. He's a good sport. He deals with me all day long. But Clayton, I don't know, I know no family is perfect, but I know your mom has always been there for you. I don't know if you can imagine your mom not coming home for 3 or 4 days or a week at a time, but that's what I did to my own kids. And to me, it sounds sickening now that I look back at it, but that was just how I was. It was like the drugs were taking over to where I had no concept. I've never been a mom. I didn't know how to be a mom. They were just my kids, but I wasn't their mom. So I had 3 or 4 more overdoses in those 3 months. And the very last one was the craziest thing because, I bonded out. So I had this court date where I was supposed to be sentenced on, I believe it was June 6th. And I was supposed to be at court at 8:30 in the morning. Well, about midnight that night, I ended up sticking a needle in my arm, and I overdosed again. And I went to the hospital, and I was in the hospital for 3 days. So I missed my court date because I overdosed. And my court date was because I overdosed. So the next week, I finally went back to court, and the judge was like, I am locking you up. There is no way you're getting out. I'm revoking your bond. And mind you, when she drug tested me, it just lit right up. So she put me in jail for 6 months. And during this 6 months, I wasn't real sure that I believed in God, but all these ministers, the jail ministry people, these cute little old ladies would come in and say, oh, Jesus loves you, and we'd color pictures, and they would sing us songs. And really, to be honest, I'm being real, I'm sorry. Really, to be honest, the only reason I went to these little churchy people things was because I live on a block with 30 girls. I just wanted to get off the block. I just wanted to only deal with 10 girls at the time. And, if I got something out of it, then okay. So for 6 months, I'd open the Bible every once in a while, and I'd, hey, this one girl that was in there, she knew the Bible, and I'm like, what does this mean? Why is it like this? I was just totally still questioning. But I don't know if most of you do know who Jessica is. She used to run the Dream Center, and now she runs the Remnant. She would come into the jail, and for this 6 months, and mind you, I was in addiction with her in the past, and she had already changed her life. So I'm like, how'd you do this? You're not the same. I can see it. How'd you really do it? And are you really doing it? And she's like, it's all Jesus, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, really? So I was skeptical, but she kept on me every week, and she came every week, and she was like, if you need help, I will help you. And I was about to get out, and I was like, I got this, I can do this. I'm kind of stubborn. So I felt like I could do it on my own, like most of us do. And turns out I didn't. I was out for about 3 weeks. Mind you, I was on probation, so I was out for about 3 weeks, and I think I only came home once out of those 3 weeks. My mom didn't even want to let me in her house anymore. I had a brother and sister who wouldn't even talk to me for a couple of years because my addiction just took over, and I really wasn't me. So after those 3 weeks, I was like, okay, I know my probation officer is going to call me in for a drug test, and I know I'm going to fail, and I really don't want to go back to jail. So I dig out Jessica's number, and I'm like, I need you. So she did not hesitate. Thank you, Jesus. She came and picked me up, and I went into the Dream Center. And it's a year program, and they are the one thing I always loved about the Dream Center, when I was in prison, I did these classes, these drug classes, alcohol classes, and they're NA and AA based, and I love it. I love how they do what they do, but I just felt like I needed more. And, one of their mottos was, instead of having 12 steps, we have one step, and that's to Jesus. And I didn't really believe them because I was still skeptical, but I knew some of these people that I was in the program with, and I knew their past. And I'm like, well, she's changed. She's happy. She's cool. Why is she all jumping up and down and Jesus? And I'm like, what is it? So, and Pastor Jimmy, I know he still remembers the first day I walked in here. I know Rita does. I know Candy does. I came in, I had this black hoodie on, and I covered my whole face up, and I sat in the back row, and I'm like, these people are weird. And Pastor Jimmy gave me a word, and I never talked to him before, and he was like, I know all these times that you should have been dead, God had his hand on you, and God had a reason for your life, and God has a purpose for you. And I was like, this guy is psycho. But he was really just telling me that, all these things, and I always look back at John 10:10, the thief's purpose is to steal, kill, and destroy, and my purpose is to give them a rich and satisfying life. And that's the NLT version. Some versions say life abundantly. I actually Googled the definition, which means having plenty of, or more than you need. Like I said, when I first went in the Dream Center, I was still kind of a little rebel, and I was still kind of like, I can do what I want, but still get through this. There was one time when I was at church, and I was, praying, and I was like, okay, God, if you're real, if this is real, I need something. I need you to tell me. I need you to show me. And there's nobody around me, like this. There's nobody around me. And I heard this voice, like plain as day, and it almost felt to me like an old grandpa voice, but I know it was God. And I heard, use again and you will die. And I literally turned around to see if somebody was by me, and there wasn't. So I was like, all right, God, I hear you, man. I got you. I got this. So at that point, I was like, okay, whatever it is, whatever you have for me, here I go. I'm all in because I have nothing to lose. I already have a family that don't talk to me. My kids don't even want to talk to me. I have nothing left to lose. So at that point, I was all in. I was, I don't know what your purpose is for me, but I know you kept me alive about 35 times. So whatever it is, I'm going to do it. Mind you, one of those days, this church wasn't here yet. We were Mission House on Etna, and I didn't even go to church. I didn't even believe in God. This was an abandoned church. It was around probably that time I was out on bond, those 3 months I ran wild. I met an actual drug dealer in this parking lot, shot up and overdosed right here in the same parking lot. And I am just like mind blown that God will bring me back here. This is the same church I overdosed in, but I also got married in. Dave, you can pull up the wedding pictures. I'll get into that in a minute. Actually, I will now. So about the time I graduated from the Dream Center, I've known Ron for 20 years, probably, and I bought this car. I got my license back. I'm working. I'm doing good, and I'm about to graduate. Well, Ron's a mechanic, so I called him up, and him and his dad, if you guys don't know, him and his dad sell tires. So I called him up, and I'm like, hey, you got these tires? And these tires are hard to find for my car. So I was like, it was probably all Jesus that he even had them. But he had them, and I was like, okay, can you help me fix my car? Because it was a beater. So he helped me fix my car, but the first time I ran into him again, it had probably been 10, 15 years since I had seen him. And as soon as I seen him, God goes, that's your husband. I'm like, no, I ain't trying to get married. No. But God said, that's your husband. And I'm like, here we go. So there we went. And Pastor Jimmy says he doesn't even like me, but I think sometimes he does. But he married us, so you signed that, right? So anyway, I was like, when I was arguing with God over these few months, because we were only dated a few months and we were engaged, and it's like one of those things where when you know, and ain't nobody else dumb enough to put up with me, so I might as well do it, right? I was like, God, I don't know how to be a wife. I don't even know how to be a mom. I don't even know how to live this godly life. And God's like, trust me, I'll show you. Trust me, I'll show you. So I kept, just pressing into God and the Word. And, it's not easy. It's never easy, especially when you know God has a big calling on your life. I get attacks from the enemy every day. And I know it's just the enemy. And sometimes I just got to speak it out like, God, stay with me, stay with me. And he promises me, I will never leave you, I will never forsake you. So I just basically have to tell the devil, get behind me, get under my feet, because I have work to do, and I'm not going back to this. And I do briefly have, even after I was graduated from the Dream Center, I was helping Jessica at the Remnant, and I was working for Tim and Gwen, and I was 3 days from getting married. I remember it plain as day. It was a Wednesday. It was February 20th, 2019. I was literally 3 days from walking down the aisle. I picked up my dress from the dry cleaner. I was ready. Everything was in place. And I got a call, and like on your phone, if you get a call and it's all zeros, it's the gaps. And I'm like, not answering it. But I was like, whatever it is, answer it. So I answered it, and he was like, oh, this detective so-and-so from the Huntington Police Department, can you come down and talk to me? And I'm like, I've been clean for 18 months, getting married in 3 days. What does he want? So, I could have been the old me and been like, no, you want me, find me. Or I was praying the whole way, and I said, God, whatever it is, I know you're bigger, and I know you have me, because even all these times that I've died, you were there. So he pulled me in, and, he's just mainly conversation. I'm proud of you. I'm glad you're doing good. What are you up to? How you doing with your life? And I'm like, actually, I'm getting married in 3 days. What do you want? So he was telling me that they had built this case on me from when I was dealing and doing all these stupid things. And they had me on level 2 and level 4 felony in Indiana. That's like 20 to 40 years. So I'm like, bro, I'm getting married in 3 days. Why are we here? For you just to tell me that, or what? And he said, well, we have a very godly prosecutor, and we have a very godly chief of police, which is, thank you, Jesus, for Chad Hacker and Amy Richardson. God told them to take away my sentence, because what's prison going to do? I done changed my life. I done did what God wanted me to do, and they knew that. So instead of sitting in prison and rocking these stripes, I'm up here rocking this mic. I just made that up. And now the greatest thing is I get to go back and I get to do jail ministry. And I see these girls who, like, literally the first day I went into the jail to minister to these girls, 2 of them were my bunkies from 4 years ago. And they could see the change. They could see. So it was like God definitely brings things back in full circle, because I was sitting there with them, and now I'm telling them how I did it. And one of them I still mentor and I still help. You know, when I got married, I was like telling God, like, I don't know how to be a godly wife. I don't even know how to be a godly mother or a godly woman. And he's like, I'll show you. I'll show you. So I was literally like opening my Bible every day. And if you know my past, like, I didn't care about married people. I didn't take marriage seriously. But now I do, and I will choke him out if he, no, I'm kidding. Proverbs 31 is like my favorite chapter in the Bible. I actually have 31:25 on my arm in his handwriting. 1 Corinthians, 1 Peter, Proverbs 12. Actually, any Proverbs, our girls in the program, still to this day, like whatever day of the month it is, today's the 25th, read Proverbs 25. The 1st through the 31st. Do it every day. The next month you'll get something different out of it than you did last month. I'm not telling you what to do, but it's kind of cool. 1 Timothy, Ephesians, anything. I mean, if you need God to show you what's going to make you better, he will show you. You just have to ask him. You just have to say, God, what is it that you have for me? Because he will show me. Actually, in April, I'm going to this training to be a, I don't really know what it is, but it's more to further my jail ministry, and it helps for eventually, like, my vision, and God gave me this vision a long time ago, like, I want this office in the jail, like, let's say, and I will never speak this on your life, but let's just say, we're pretending, Courtney's in jail, and she's about to get out in 2 weeks. And I'm going to call her in my office, and I'm going to say, okay, Courtney, what do you need? Do you need food? Do you need clothes? Do you have somewhere to go? You're going to your mom's. Is that good for you? You know, if your mom's an addict, let's find you somewhere else, because there's lots of them like that. Do you need a program? Do you need NA, AA? You need a church? You need whatever. Whatever you need, I want to line you up with that before you even walk out that door, because I walked out that door at 8:30, and by noon I had a needle in my arm again, and I don't want that for anybody else. So that's my vision that God has for me, and I'd really love it if you guys would keep praying for that, and pray for these men and women in the jail, because I get so many calls a day that are from the jail. And, oh, hey, it's so-and-so. Can you send me an application? Of course, I'll send you one. But the thing is, it's hard for them. Like, you know, when you're sitting in jail, you're like, oh, I'm going to change. I'm not going to do this anymore. But when you get out, you learn nothing. So your mindset is still the same. You can't get, and I really hate the fact that COVID has stopped us from going into the jail. Romans 12:2. Was a very good verse that I sat on for a long, long time. It says, don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn God's will for you, which is perfect and pleasing and good. Speak that over your life every day until you truly believe it. That's all I can really lean on. I do have another verse that I think I just lost my page, but I'll find it. Hold on. If you can, just pray for these men and women in the jail. Pray for these ones that are, the power of prayer is so strong. Even when I wasn't praying for myself, somebody was praying for me. Even when I didn't believe in God, somebody was praying for me because I'm still standing here. I take addiction and recovery very seriously. And for those of you who don't know, do you have those pictures, Dave? For those of you who don't know, Brandon and Parker were both huge parts of my life, and I loved them both. Brandon I grew up with. I've known him since we'd never not known each other. We lived 2 doors down. And Parker, I knew his mom, and I grew up with his mom like a block over. And I watched him grow up too, and I took it very, very hard when we lost them both. We are going to dedicate this front pew right here beside Courtney, and I don't have it done yet, and I wish I would have today, but I don't. I'm sorry. But right here we are going to hang some kind of plaque for Brandon and for Parker because they were huge. Actually, that picture was taken, both their pictures were taken here by a cool photographer. I just want them to know they are never, ever forgotten. And I cannot explain why God takes some and he doesn't take the others. I'm no better than they are. I don't know why I'm here, but I know that since he saved me, I'm going to live for him. That's really all I have.